Hello everyone and welcome to ESCP Talks Season 2, an event created by the ESCP Bachelor Society. And we're going to go around the theme of business in fashion. And this type of events was created to support the students, to make them grow, and to make a sense of community, to build a sense of community at ESCP. And that's what we do at the Bachelor Society. I want to take this time and thank our sponsor, the ESCP Foundation, for their amazing trust. It's the second time that they've trusted us with these events, so thank you for the sponsorship. They're actually offering us an amazing cocktail after the event, so thank you to them for that. I also wanted to thank some people. It's been a lot of months of preparation for such an event, so I want to thank Ronnie Gamzon and Mr. Lederman for their contribution to the theme and everything that has to do with the event. I want to thank my team. So my team that was in logistics, communications, that helped me out with everything that has to do with that here. I also want to thank the logistics team of ESCP, and I want to thank the team of Montparnasse, the ones who take care of the whole Paris campus, and of course, Madame Moiti and Madame Demichel, who will introduce the speakers a bit later. They're the experts at ESCP when it comes to fashion, and they will be the ones asking professional questions to our speakers, so I'm very happy that they're here to support us with this event as well. I would say it's funny that last time we made ESCP Talks Season 1, we were quite shocked by the immense impact that we gave to the ESCP community, to the students, and we had the pleasure of having the CEO of Carrefour France. And we thought that it was already a lot, that it had already exceeded our expectations. But we had no idea that we were going to come to this tonight and that we were going to continue this series, which I'm super happy of continuing. But this, and one more time, we were able to show that the bachelors in management are just as capable as any other degree to support the university, to give back to the university, and to live up to the name of ESCP. But this couldn't have been done without the support of this university. I must say that the culture in this university, all the people, the professors, the staff, and the executives that have been behind us, that have helped us out, and there's a real culture of helping the students, trusting in them, and that is one of the things. Today, the speakers that we have here all have a lot in common with ESCP, actually. We have 3 of them that are ESCP alumni, and Mr. Pascal Morand was a former director of the university. So they are the living proof, if I can say, that if you want to make it far, if you want to make it in fashion to the highest level, they are the living proof that it is absolutely possible. And for me, it's a real dream come true to make these events. It really is. And I wouldn't have been able to do them without the help of ESCP. So thank you to ESCP for that. And I hope you enjoy these very inspiring leaders in their talks and that they will inspire you for your future. Thank you very much. I will give it now to a dear friend of mine, Mr. Lederman. He believed in the Bachelor Society and in me especially for this. So without him, I wouldn't be here today. So thank you so much to him. And
good evening. Great, André. By the way, the value and ability to deliver, don't wait for years. So it's, yeah. So tonight we're lucky to have great guests, and let's make a few words about what are creative industries. These industries occupy a unique place in the business world because they have the capacity to deliver value, both in economic, artistic, and social terms. They generate high-quality jobs, protect the identity of communities, cities, and regions. They help promote linguistic and cultural diversity. They develop open-mindedness and can be highly profitable in financial terms. What's valuable? What requires a lot of talent is meaning, content, style, ideas, stories, concept designs, those pieces of significance that people can understand, use, value, and love. The most valuable products are ideas and meanings that are not produced by machines, though AI, again, used creatively, can be a great leverage, but by the imagination. Okay. In the past, you bought a coat because we were cold, but now today, you buy a garment from a designer, so we express ourselves. A product has to appeal to us. in a much more complex and delicate way. It has to appeal to us as individuals. It has to create a personal bond with us. It has to tell our story, express the inner us. And that's what our guests do remarkably, you know. So we need to remember that creative clusters are not like other clusters. You know, the sector is experiencing an explosion of growth, but requires very specific know-how. A creative cluster needs much more than buildings, housing corporate headquarters adjacent to a campus dedicated to commerce and technology. It must include not-for-profit businesses, cultural institutions, art exhibitions, individual artists alongside science parks and multimedia centers. There are places where people can live, play, as work, places where cultural products are consumed as well as produced. They thrive on diversity, change, flourish, particularly in lively multicultural urban settings that have their own local culture and distinction, but are also connected to the whole world. So, we're honored to receive and welcome our speakers, which will be introduced very soon by our ex-faculty dean, Valérie Moiti, who also a great professor, a great teacher in mode and tech and supply chain, and also by Perrine de Michel, who is really also a very highly talented teacher of the school. We don't forget there is school before everything. It's students, teachers, and this is something okay. So now, just a few words on Pascal. You were the first to introduce the concept of creative industries to make it an integral part of ESCP Business School. First. And let's not forget that as a dean, we owe you Startup Europe, our Designing Europe student seminar in the European Parliament. So, welcome also to Anouk Duranteau-Loeper, which will be represented by our very prestigious teachers also today, Marie Leblanc, Nicolas Santi-Weil, CEO of AmiParis. It's a creative dream team, so have a good evening, and I leave them the floor. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. I'm a professor at ESCP with a clear focus on fashion. And I just wanted to share with you, well, first of all, to congratulate André and the team for the great work to set up this conference. And I'm very happy that your second conference is about fashion and business, and we'll come back to that. And also to share with you that fashion and luxury are key topics for ESCP, which is, as you know, a European school that is located in the center of different European cities, and most of them have a clear fashion DNA, and specifically Paris, of course. So just to share with you that over time, it was just mentioned, but we have a clear partnership with Cartier. We have a share with Cartier called Turning Points. We used to have another share in the area of fashion with Lectra about fashion and technology. We have a specialization in the MIM program about luxury. We have a course in the MIM program about fashion and technology. That is a legacy somehow from the share. We have a double degree and partnership with IFM, and very soon, we will launch a new program, a new MSc in luxury management that will start in Turin in a year from now, next September, and that will be also be in Paris for part of it, and the part which will be in Paris will be specifically focused on sustainable luxury. So just to say that we're doing a lot about fashion and luxury, but we can even do more, and obviously the panel of today is a great illustration about that. All those alumni from the school we are very proud of, who were succeeding in the luxury and fashion industry. Perrine, I let you start, introduce them.
Yeah, thank you. So I will open this discussion on business and fashion, so very glamorous and very attractive, appealing topic. And we are glad to have today 4 guests who will share their experiences with you, and we'll have a discussion. So we will also open the discussion to you and give you the opportunity to ask your questions at some point of the discussion. But I would like to first ask our guests to introduce themselves and to talk a bit about their company as well, to tell us what they're doing today and what they were doing since they left ESCP.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Nice to meet you, and nice to be here back. It was yesterday. Yes, a bit of a change. So my name is Marie Leblanc. I am the CEO of Victoria Beckham. I've been with the company for 5 years now. I therefore live in London. I have 2 children. I graduated ESCP in 2004, so a while ago. And since then, I've always done my career in fashion and luxury. I've worked for several brands. I did the women's wear for department store Printemps in Paris. And then today, I lead the Victoria Beckham business fashion brand in London. Maybe we do a tour and then I'll jump into the business.
So good evening everyone. My name is Nicolas Santi-Weil. I'm the CEO of AmiParis. Thank you, André, Alexandre, and the team for this invitation and to be here with a fellow alumni. So I've been managing Ami as a CEO for the past 10 years, working with Alexandre, the founder and designer of the brand. Before this, I co-founded the brand called The Couples that I managed for 5 years. And right before this, after graduating from ESCP in 2001, I developed in the US a French company doing custom-made shirts. And I did this for about 5 to 6 years.
So good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. It's a bit impressive, but we'll get there. So I also graduated from ESCP in 2001, and I was in the BDE with Nicolas here. So we know each other quite well. We were co-vice-presidents. So
maybe a choreography after this speech.
And my end of graduation report was under the supervision of the brilliant Pascal Morand here, about luxury. So it all started here. When I was doing my studies, I was also working at Christian Dior and Franck & Fils, who doesn't exist anymore, to make my money because I had to pay for my parties. And then when I left, I joined McKinsey for a few years, then went to LVMH where I did strategy for about 5 years and then led the accessory division of Celine. And after that, I joined Paco Rabanne as a CEO, and then Isabel 6 years ago, as a CEO, working alongside Isabel, who is still the artistic director, creative director, founder, whatever. And I also have 3 amazing kids.
Oh,
sorry. I'm also working with Pascal as the présidente de la Chambre syndicale de la mode féminine. So it doesn't translate in English, sorry.
I'm here. So it's very nice to see you and to be here with you. I'm very glad to see my friends and Alexandre. We work a lot with each other, and Valérie, who is a colleague, and I can say that. Perrine is also a colleague because I'm not a professor, but I'm an emeritus professor. And my dear friend Marianne, who come back to the school at this new high responsibility of director for the brand communication, and who did a lot also when I was the dean of the school and developing it, and we were developing the European concept and setting up with each other. So briefly, in fact, my first contact, I first started to work with the school. I'm a graduate of a cousin school, which is HEC. Then I first was a professor in Neoma. I'm an economist. I decided to be an economist. I'm an economist. Neoma, and also teaching at Paris, Sorbonne, and other schools and universities. But I came here to join my former professor, Jacques Perrin, who has been the dean of the school between 1980 and 1990, 89 and 90. And here I was not formally a professor, but I was the director, the scientific director for a doctoral program with the University of Dauphine then, for the international programs, and I also launched and headed the specialized masters at that time. And then, for any reasons, I went into fashion. It had nothing to do with fashion, but I went to fashion in 1987, not to create, but almost to create and to develop the French Fashion Institute with a great French character, the former president of Saint Laurent, then at that time, Pierre Berger, and I worked with him during 20 years to develop and to contribute to do with IFM what it has become afterwards. And but then, being an economist, I took over a position. There was an open position of the professor in the economics, law, and human sciences department here. So I've been a professor of economics. So I did both quite a number of years, and I had very bright students in economics. I just, at least 2 of them, I'm not sure for Marie. Yeah, she was young, yeah. And then I became the dean of ESCP. And the reason for which I applied for that job was not because as a business school, but as a business school, European one for Europe. So we launched and we mixed all the programs. It was a huge reform that we did, that we accomplished. And I'm so glad with that, which has been done. And afterwards with my also successor, my real successor, Franck Bourdois. I had a short-term successor 1 year. I'm not going to talk about it, but no, that's not nice. I'm sorry, kidding. Anyhow, so we did that, and 2 words about the. I was a bit long because you see that there's this link with the ESCP, and I can even tell you that I talked to you about the man who was the director of ESCP between from 1980 on. I know in my team I have his granddaughter, so you see there is like a sustainable development. And just to finish with that, some words about the federations. The federations, we have 2 roles. We gather luxury fashion and designers brands. So we are a selective organization. We have around 110 members. 50% are French, 50% are not French. And then we have different activities in menswear, womenswear, and couture. All this is very different. And Anouk said she's the president of the Women's Wear Chamber within the federation, and she's also a member of the executive committee. And Isabel Marant and Ami and Victoria Beckham, all of them are members of the federation. And Nicolas has been also much involved. We just, by the way, had to organize the dinner recently in a place which is not usual to be every day, which is the 3rd dinner that we did for the invitation of the French president. So we work a lot with each other. So we have 2 roles at the federation. One is to be a sort of a classical professional syndicate, like for the automobile industry, the steel industry, not exactly, although it can be creative. And so we work on numerous topics, also the think tank, and bringing services to our members and developing public affairs at the European scale, in particular. This is one thing, and the other thing is to be an event organizer, because we organize the Paris Fashion Week and the Couture Week, which is a bit different, but this is part of the whole set, and which is the global leader. I'm not supposed to say that, but there are objective criteria enabling me to say that. And we try to innovate in a collective work, to be and to remain, not to be better than the others. That's not the point. To be ourselves with our identity, which is focused on creativity and know-how, and creativity among everything, above everything. Sorry.
Great, thank you all. Thank you, Pascal. It was an excellent introduction to one of the first topic, which is, I think, a core pillar of fashion, because we are talking about fashion and business. All of you are CEOs, And one of the key features of the 3 brands we have here is about design. You mentioned that they have all designers. So maybe to Marie first, I'm interested to understand better the balance, how you manage this balance between business and creation or creativity, design. And also, Pascal mentioned Pierre Berger. We all have in mind this couple of Yves Saint Laurent and Pierre Berger, who were probably the first to be successful in balancing that. So how is it for you, and how is it specifically at Victoria Beckham?
Well, I think that sits at the core of any fashion brand and what we do for the luxury industry and the fashion. I think for the 3 of us, we have a very specific thing, which is we work with the founder and creative director of our brands. So our brands are very embodied. They are the people we work with every day, Anouk with Isabel, Alexandre and Nicolas together, and myself with Victoria. Very, very, it's iconic brands because they are embodied by their living founder and creative director. And this couple, I would say, is at the core of what we do. We need to mitigate business and creation together. I was always attracted personally to fashion, so I did ESCP, but after ESCP I went to a design school. So I really experimented the fashion creative process. I was convinced that understanding that would help me leverage it after. And I think they speak to each other, even though sometimes they might be conflicting. I actually think if you manage to bring them together and manage this tension, you can leverage a very interesting business. So obviously it all starts with creation, and you need to really embrace that, be passionate about that. I think that's my driver. And that's obviously Victoria's driver. I think we have a few slides actually, so I'm going to try and do both at the same time, so we'll illustrate that. So all of you know Victoria Beckham. She's not only an ex-Spice Girls or the wife of David Beckham, and maybe some of you have seen the documentary, but she is also passionate about fashion, and that is the reason why I've wanted to join her. We've been working together for almost 6 years now. And I always like to speak about the reason why of a brand. I think that's at the core of what we do. The reason why a brand was founded, specifically we talk about creative director, but talking about the founder I think is relevant tonight for brands. So, well, one thing that Victoria believed in is it's about fashion, natural, meticulous attention to detail, and her ability to influence. I also believe that the creative and the ability to storytell today in fashion is more than ever important. So she launched her brand in 2008. So we are 15 years old. So it's still a young brand, I would say, for fashion. We could talk about legacy, but we're still a very young brand. And a lot of events since then, but most recently we started to show at Paris Fashion Week, which was a huge milestone for us. And well, you see Victoria here. Few of those, I think that is the reason why empowerment and femininity. So talking about ethos also today for brand and luxury and fashion industry is super important. Victoria wants to empower women. We want to own the space of British luxury fashion. I personally was always attracted to British brands. I worked previously with Anouk also at Celine, and we used to be commuting weekly to London. And then I decided to move fully to London and work alongside Victoria. So yes, smart and feminine women, so there is a personal ethos there that I also wanted to embrace and is at our core of what we do. Well, that is our overall geographics. You know, we are a worldwide global brand. I think that's also something that is very exciting about fashion industry and luxury industry. It's global, it's international, creativity is at the core, but actually it's an end-to-end manufacturing process. You have creation, distribution, production, manufacturing, logistics, ethos, and that all come together. And I think you never can get bored being CEO of a fashion company. There's a lot of challenges along the way, but very exciting. Well, that's an example for us. Social is super important. So, well, Victoria, she launched her website before she opened her first store. She's got 31 million followers on Instagram. That's a huge channel for us to bring people on our website. TikTok, she launched the account a year and a half ago, 500,000 followers. It's massive. So for us, it's a huge also community to lead. That's very specific to any fashion brands, but I would say with the profile of Victoria, that's even one of the bigger challenge and opportunity for us. Some examples. So unfortunately, the video are not working. I just wanted to show a little bit of fun because that's what we deal with every day. Fashion is challenging. Fashion is fun as well. I think that's one of the reasons I'm in that area. We said it was glamorous, but I think it's a lot of fun and excitement every day. And for us, well, we have Victoria's personal life, our community, the fashion, and most recently, she launched the beauty in 2009. So it's all around Victoria's personality, obviously. And that was just to illustrate a little bit of what we do with some press. So the video still doesn't work. That should be showing you our show Catwalk in Paris. That has been a massive milestone for us. And you know, for the brand to cross the channel and go beyond UK, US, where Victoria was born from the brand, it's a big shift. Few of the social teasers. Again, I'm sorry because Nico put the pressure saying we should send videos tonight. So I tried my best, but I hope another time you can find them on Instagram if you go there. And well, that's what the part that I was mentioning also that is a very important piece of our work. Well, those are some of our VIP and Victoria's community. So big profile that influence into the brand and bring people to be willing to buy into the brand and find it even more desirable. I think desirability sits also at the core of what we do. Those were some press articles and some business. I did a step on that because that's also going into the financials more and the business performance. My peers will say a lot about that because their journey has been longer than mine. but I think we've hit a milestone of turning the brand to profitability, and that's how you mitigate creative and business. It starts with the brand platform, who you are, what you stand for, build up everything consistent and cohesive around that. And then when it's well articulated and executed, you can turn to profitability, and now we have other ambitions to build up further growth. So that's a quick one. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Maybe we can turn to you, Nicolas?
No. Okay. So the story is we called each other and say we prepare nothing, we just do a talk. And then and then we receive an email from ESCP saying, I received the presentation of Mr. Santi-Weil, thank you very much. So both of...
So sorry, no, I have to correct this. We just said, instead of doing just straight talk, as we know each other, we like to have a round table to share so that it will be more proactive with you. I
you
just
don't
need
fall
to
asleep.
correct.
So sorry. So I just used a film, but if you don't mind, can you turn the sound off? So you will see the images, and I will just do a voiceover because it's 4 minutes, so it's a bit long because I couldn't edit. So we will launch that little presentation of the company as a film. The sound is off. It's okay? Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So now I won't be able to switch it. Yeah. So Isabel Marant, again, CEO, creative director, and founder. So brand was founded in '95, so it's the longest history in the room, which is again very young for a fashion company, but 30 years almost. First success was the launch of the Beckham, worn by Beyoncé, and a big success that enabled the brand to reach another level in terms of being international. So here you see Isabel working. We did a collaboration with H&M, which was really important in terms of making the brand known on a global level, because we are a French company, self-founded, so you need to grow the business step by step because you need to make your own money and then reinvest it. So you need at some point to have some turning points in terms of business to really help you foster the development of the brand. So Isabel is really a specific person. She works super hard. So fashion is not a business where people don't work. It's a business where people work very hard. But when it's funny and exciting, it's really interesting. So as Marie said, the key is really to have a strong creative status. You need to have someone with ideas, not only just about the product, but what do you mean, who you are, what do you stand for, and then translate it into collections, but also in terms of communication, expression, and now social content, celebrities, to make sure that the world knows and understands. I think what makes our business very complex, and we are not, I measure my words because we are not sorting huge problems. We are just about fashion, so we are not making planes or... But for small companies, you need to deal directly with a global audience because you cannot live on just your own market. I mean, at least as a French company. Maybe when you're American, you can just work with the US for 10 years and then go global. When you're French, you need to be global at first because the base of customer that you have in France only doesn't make it. So you really need to be global. As Marie said, you need to integrate everything from creation to production to distribution, which is quite rare. If you think about it, L'Oréal does not distribute its own products. They sell to people who sell. When you are fashion, you need to have wholesalers, retailers, then e-commerce. So it really is quite complicated. Even if you do just €1 million sales, you need to really be able to work in a global environment. And then I think the last thing that is complex for us is that you need to manage as a consequence. And for me, it's quite complicated because someone asked me for TikTok, and I don't like social media, so that's my problem. But I have to live with it because I understand the value of it, but it's not natural to me. So I think you need to understand creative people, you need to understand finance, you need to understand production, you need to understand retail, experience, you need to be social, and understand the social media and what drives the attraction for the brand in social components. And then you need to be able to do so in all the countries, and you know well, and that's Timothée Chalamet, I'm quite proud of it. And that's Lisa. So K-pop. So that's the celebrities we are working with. So again, as a CEO, I think the complexity of it and what makes us never bored is the fact that you really need to be able to, and Emily, match all those talents and attract the talents. So it sounds easy now that we are 30 years old. But when you're super small, you start working with 2 friends, and then the 2 friends bring trainees, and so you're left with 2 friends and 3 trainees, and then you need to start from there. And so it's quite complicated. So now we are a company of about 800 people, so it's much bigger. I'm not working with Isabel France, just Isabel France. We have named a number 2 to the studio to work alongside Isabel because it's a lot of work for herself. That's a very nice show that we did with La Horde. I don't know if you're familiar with dance, but they are a great French company, and they had the Ballet National de Marseille. So I think it's quite interesting to be able to do that, some sort of collaboration with other creative talents and things. But so that's it. So that's why we're never bored. You have a morning meeting with production to talk about delays in production and the fact that the supplier didn't deliver such thing. And then you move on to marketing, and then the next thing is a collection review where you feel that someone has forgotten dresses for next spring season, so you need to readjust everything. And then in the evening you have a finance meeting with your board, which is not always nice. Could be nice, but not always. And I think the variety of topics that you have to deal with in a small company is quite exciting, what makes it very exciting. Yeah.
Thank you, Anouk. Now it's your turn.
Thank you. Yes, I think I won't repeat what's been... Oh, sorry, I will go back to this afterwards. Okay, no, but this is... there is no... You can put the sound, but this idea is just a short video to show you some of the last fashion show we did. It's a short edit of the 3 last fashion show. So what is Ami about? I have just a few slides later on, but it's just to show you that we don't pretend to reinvent fashion. The main idea about AmiParis is just to make people happy in the garment they wear, to make something very simple but positive, optimistic, and joyful. We think we can be in the fashion world, in the luxury world, but still being very open-minded, having fun. We have a lot of fun. Alexandre, the founder, is very creative, but he's still a kid in his mind, in the way that he likes to surprise, he likes to make jokes all the time. And we think that's one of the signature of Ami. Like Marie and Anouk said, we're working hard, but we're very happy. We're very proud to do what we do, and we realize every morning that we're lucky to do a job that we like. then it's not only about fame, about glamorous, it's about work, it's about understanding. Maybe one of the key learning for me is that to develop a brand, even more when we're working with the founder, with the designer, is to try and find a balance between business and image. Never kill one for the other, but trying always to find, and maybe that's also what we are representing here, is to try and understand the creative vision, but how to translate it in a sustainable business. And when I say sustainable, it's about the balance, geographical balance, channel balance, etc. And it's not an easy step because every day you have to think about this moving balance, and it's always a challenge. But it's nice because you never get bored with it. You have to reinvent yourself. And secondly, I would say also about creativity. When we talk about creativity, most of the time we think about the fashion director, the designer. But I do think as a CEO, we have to be creative. It's a business creativity, but just to adapt, to see what room we can give to the creator, when we need to be more demanding in one direction or another. And I think this comes through communication, through exchange, through understanding what is very important for her or for him, and what doesn't make sense with the brand story, the brand journey. I show you just a quick slide about Ami. So here on the first picture, you see Alexandre, who's the founder and the director. The brand has been built about Paris. I think it's something special to be born in Paris because all around the world, even if our own market is not so huge, there is a respect for Parisian lifestyle, and we like to talk about it, to play around it, because being located in Paris, it's a dream. Sometimes we need to travel or to go outside of France to really realize how lucky we are. So we play around it in every fashion show that we're doing with the Federation. Then we like this idea of family, but a kind of inclusive family. Not something, we're not a pure luxury brand. We're more like in the idea of this family that you will bring around your friends and the friend of your friend in an inclusive way. So like I told you earlier, our core value are optimism, commitment, because we need to work, creativity, 360 creativity, and inclusivity. On the last picture, you see the logo. That's for sure as being a brand awareness booster in France, but mainly abroad. And during the COVID, we were surprised by the figures and the sales, and it's been helping us. But the brand is more than a logo, and that's also a question of balance between the tailoring part, the creative part, and the more commercial part, but which is also helping to finance the development of the company. Here are some of we like to be creative and surprising in the marketing and the creative campaign we do. These are some examples in Times Square in New York. And on the right has been Alexandre's dream since he was a kid to work with a creative person called Jean-Paul Goude for maybe you're a little bit young, but in 1989 for the 200s, not only Albertville, but for the 200th anniversary of the French Revolution. He did an amazing show on the Champs-Élysées. He was designing the whole thing. And Alexandre dreamed to work with him. He managed to be in contact with him, to really seduce him. And we did a big campaign about our logo and the center role of Paris and the Eiffel Tower that you see on the right. Here is some of the campaign we did in Shanghai. And on the right is the Bund skyline. So to get the authorization, to get the logo here with the government, with the party, etc., has been a headache, but we're very proud to do so. And that's the idea of AMI. We put challenge to ourselves and we say, we'll make it happen. We know it's not possible, but we'll try to make it happen. So it was just to give you a few pictures. As you can see, it's not a long corporate presentation. It was just to give you visual elements. Now maybe we'll be open to your questions, but just to set the tone, and I think you told it earlier, one of the most important points is anything is possible. As long as you work, as long as you go and you meet or you organize element or you find a way through TikTok, through, I don't know, whatever, social network or day-to-day meeting, just make it happen.
Thank you. So thank you very much. So we could hear very different examples of fashion companies, but all very creative, and you see common points in the creativity and in what is very important to be successful. Maybe at this stage we can leave the floor to the students or to the audience. If you, okay. So first we will. So while Pascal is telling us about creativity in fashion, you can think about questions to ask to the audience.
I want to say two things. First, I mentioned my strong links with Anouk and with Nicolas. I didn't say anything concerning Marie, but I will say something now because we are like all together in an informal, intimate thing. So I can tell you when Victoria Beckham, when you decided to come to show in Paris, which was not the case in the past, we were very happy. And I told you on the phone, oh yes, it's cool, it's fine. But I can tell you, no, I'm sitting next to you, close to each other. I can tell you we were absolutely, and I was we were all warmly happy about that. So it's the opportunity to say that, so I say tonight, it's an exclusivity, I don't know. Now, a few words. You see, what's very important here is that with these three brilliant CEOs who spoke to us and explained things to us, the role of the couple, this binomial ID, it's not specific to fashion. You can maybe find that in creative industries, but also some let's say we could change of paradigm and talk about the medical environment, the way hospitals should be managed with managers and medical doctors, etc. But in creativity, it's absolutely crucial. But it is extremely delicate. And what strikes me, having worked in different, not only in fashion, but in like a number of environments, is that there is a high level of professionalism, a high level of attention given to the detail in everything, in any aspect, and a lot of work, like maybe I think a huge quantity of work and involvement. And the thing is, when you have a couple like this, what makes it different from, let's say, usual industries in which you don't have that, and sometimes you don't have it, but you should have it. In many industries, we could talk about the automobile industries, what's happening, and the new CEO and president's profiles, and so on. But what's happened, it is particularly delicate because first you cannot do otherwise. I don't know any example of a fashion brand, creative fashion brand, which has been successful, for which after a while the founder can do without an alter ego of the same level. And the question is that when you have an entrepreneur in any industry, and the entrepreneur is the CEO or the boss, you can have different cultural models, even in Europe, between the Scandinavian model, the difference between the German and French management. You have common points, Italian, etc. You have transversal, you have many approaches, but I'm sure that even if we do the way that in Britain, the usual companies are managed, not exactly the same and so on. But anyway, there are common points, which is there is one boss. Here, there is one boss, but there is another person who is also a boss somehow. And even when the artistic director is reporting to the CEO, it doesn't happen like that. So, so there is something like an incompleteness. It escapes, and it works because something escapes, and that is very important. And one of the characteristics of very high-level managers, not so many in this industry, is also, to give an example, working with a designer, a creative director, artistic director, is to have the high-level capacity to say no without saying no. And that is life, daily life. And I feel like I would like adding some comments about the nature of the difference between the different types of marketing, but I will be too long, so I'll let you stop now.
Let's move to questions. So, do you have questions at this stage? Yeah. There is a question there. How do you want to manage the questions? André, there is a question there, but do you need the mic or maybe?
Thank you very much for a very exciting presentation of all your very successful companies. I had a question about you mentioned embodiment, and I think we're probably experiencing, and it's been going on for a while, really the rise of the strong figure, like the designer, who is really the brand. Whereas, for example, you mentioned Yves Saint Laurent, this generation, or Karl Lagerfeld, for instance, they started in big companies, big names, and then they moved to creating their own brands. And I'm thinking as well, for instance, of Phoebe Philo in Celine, who's left Celine, is about to launch her new brand. But at the same time, we're now starting to experience the dematerialization of fashion. And I'm referencing to the metaverse, for instance, with brand really starting to, explore, have fashion shows on the metaverse, sell fashion products. Gucci is selling bags that are actually more expensive than the real bags. And people want to have their image and they want to buy clothes for their avatar. And whereas fashion is very much, from a personal point of view, very much an experience. You want to touch, you want to feel the clothes, like the smell of the product, the beauty products. Now it's completely dematerialized, and I would like to have your thought on what do you think tomorrow's fashion is going to look like?
I thank you for your question first. I wouldn't say it's completely dematerialized. I would say that they are both coexisting, and I still think that there's been different cycles, like during COVID, like the digital, the metaverse was booming, and then things are stopped, like setting back, and I think they speak to each other. The customers start their journey online, finish it in store, or vice versa. Social is one way of getting to the brand store. Physical store is another way. Events are another way to connect with the brands. From the biggest halo, we talk about the show, the three of us, but you have in-store events that really give a personal relationship with the customer. And what I see is that every day we need to be actually very agile to connect those different worlds, so be aware of what's going on. About the metaverse, there's been a lot of polemics and controversy. Some people are more cautious. I am still cautious about personally. I believe we need to be aware and follow. I think AI is very useful for back office or platforms for sustainability, for instance, to facilitate. But I still feel, like you said, people need to experience physically, and I see a huge returns in store for us. So that would be my take.
No, I think what is true, but I think it's always been the case, and it doesn't change that much, is that fashion, and especially luxury fashion, because we didn't mention that, but we are all about luxury fashion. When you sell something that costs 3, 4, 5 times the price of the average garment, of course you sell a product that is beautifully made with craftsmanship and creation and creativity as a cost. You need to pay a lot of people to experience, you throw away a lot of things, a lot of ideas and a lot of work. So that is something that's the product. But to really be able to sell it, you need to have the desire about it. And that's the intangible part of fashion that is very important. And I don't know if it's an avatar or anything, but when you do a fashion show, you do the fashion show to not as Yves was doing it when he was young. It's not to sell people to the actual people who are sitting in the front row. It's to display something. It's about the people who attend the fashion show. It's about the storytelling that you put in the fashion show. Is it something about Brazil that makes you feel like you want to be naked on the beach suddenly? So I think what you're saying is right. It's about the intangible and the tangible, but the tangible needs to really be perfect before anything else. And then you can develop the rest.
I think some aspects you mentioned are important, the senses and the sensory order. But we are in the digital society, and more now with AI, more and more, etc. And for sure, when everybody was talking about metaverse things, it was just one more step in the virtual reality. And then quite a number of people of brands, not only the sectors, just jumped into Decentraland and other experiences that's natural, which is fine. To me, and I saw that with the Fashion Week, when we launched the online Fashion Week, because during the pandemic, that was a big move. We launched it. And quite a number of people said, okay, this will replace. There will be no more like physical events. But this absolutely did not happen. And it could be we did anticipate it exactly for the reason that you mentioned, and that works for fashion weeks, but more generally. What I mean by that is that for sure, during the pandemic, there has been quite a move, the true entrance into the 21st century somehow, into an era which has changed in the sense that it was no more the physical complete, the digital completing the physical, but no, everything is physical, which cannot be digital. But now, of course, then digitalization has accelerated a lot in terms of communication and commercialization, and like in B2B platform, commercial, etc., B2C, etc., etc. But we saw now that it is not so obvious. It must be measured and balanced because, as you say, there cannot be a deprivation of senses, even if there is some plasticity in the brain. So the more it is digital, the more people have, human beings need some physical experience. This is what has happened with the fashion weeks and the physical show again, which came back. And also, of course, for instance, if I take the like B2B sales in B2B sales, no, it can be largely facilitated because you can go like you can use the platform, you can go through their name like Jour and others, order, and so on. But this is not enough, and it is what is very important in luxury fashion designers brands is that this notion of the contact, the sensory contact, the sensory experience. If I take the case of shows are also a sensory experience, which is reflected somehow through the digital shows and platform, etc. But it doesn't replace because the feeling is not exactly, and we couldn't commend that. And when you have in shows like scenography, when you do something which is approaching somehow, I like to use the term of Gesamtkunstwerk, total work of art, even if it's not specifically art, but there are people with many creative capacities. We need the physical, and firstly to have the perception that we stay alive, and this is true. And for the product, for the designer, this is very important. It's like theater. We have cinema, but the theater of fashion is hugely important in any aspect of the life of the brands, especially for luxury fashion and designers brands.
I fully agree. I would just add one point. I think there is no opposition. It totally can be compatible because even more with fashion, luxury brand were founded by the designer. I think the client or the potential client, they want to know more about the designer himself or herself. And like the social media or sometimes the metaverse can be a huge playground. I think metaverse is a step forward, but you cannot be only digital, only like in a dreamy world. You have to have like this workmanship, this creativity in your garment. And in many countries, now they want to know who's behind the brand because choosing and wearing a brand might be like a freedom, a political gesture. So you need to know if you agree with the designer who's funding this brand, who's designing those garments. So I wouldn't think it would be a one-way story for sure. Even like when we compare online or retail, for me, retail is both online and offline. But then you have to be consistent. And as manager, we have to think that it's a big way to tell the story of the brand, to show if you're consistent or not consistent, depending on the media, because fashion is also a powerful media. So you can tell a lot about your vision, about your creativity, about your brand online as well.
And I would like to make an additional comment on the additional comment that Nicolas made on my comment. Meaning, in one line, augmented reality has induced augmented creativity. That was short.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we will accept one more question, maybe on the theme.
Yeah, there is one.
Four,
There.
five, go ahead.
Many questions.
Speak, oh yes.
Wow.
Each of you.
You're so inspiring.
Yeah.
They all want to ask questions.
No more than 3 questions per person.
First of all, thank you so much for allowing us to ask you questions. it's for me, it's a very short one, maybe more easier to answer. It was just bouncing back on what Pascal Morand said to you, Marie Leblanc, about the fashion show of Victoria Beckham. Why did you decide to do it in Paris? Because we know Victoria Beckham is a British brand with also a British identity. So I'm sure Paris Fashion Week has maybe different broadcast on the world. So yeah, I was wondering, why did you and Victoria Beckham decide to do your show here in Paris?
That was a quite strategic decision, actually. Victoria started to show in New York. So even though she's British, she started to show in the US and launched the brand in the US. Then she moved to London. And then it was always a dream for her to be showing in Paris with the Paris exposure. So Anouk highlighted it that Paris is still a small city, and also you, Nicolas, talking about Ami. But the desirability of Paris and the exposure for Paris for fashion. I mean, I used to say we have wine and fashion in France when I was at Printemps. And obviously, yes, the fashion exposure of the Paris Fashion Week is massive. You have all the industry gathering there. So just for us, I mean, just our media impact value in Paris has boomed since we're showing in Paris. But for Victoria and our decision, during the COVID, we repositioned the brand. We amalgamated, we re-strategized. And one of our dreams was to be showing in Paris. We thought we had to be ready from a creative standpoint, but when we were ready, we wanted to make that move to Paris. And that's the moment we contacted Pascal to start belong to the Paris Fashion Week calendar and be member of the Fédération. And I mean, we're very excited with that. Victoria's always loved Paris also. You know, David played in Paris, so she has a specific attachment to France. And I think we like this Franco-British couple also. We said that when we built the brand strategy. So that made a lot of sense with the brand.
Thank you so much.
And to add on that, because I think Pascal will not comment, but at the Fédération, we see all the brands wanting to come and show in Paris, and I think it's very flattering, but that doesn't make a point. I think what it means is that on the global standpoint, Paris is the city for fashion, and I think it will be here to stay. On a more pragmatic point of view, I think media value, all the journalists, all the buyers, they come to Paris, it's like the center of the ecosystem. But also, if you want to build a company, if you want to attract talent, they're based here. If you want to open an atelier in London, and I've tried to do so with Celine, with Phoebe in London, getting the talent in London, and you know that better than me now, is more complicated because the best seamstresses, the best tailors, they're here. So if you, I mean, on that thing, maybe Milan is the only city in the world where we can compete, but Paris is really a differentiating point for our brand. In terms of getting access to the skills, getting access to the agencies, the media, casting people. I mean, all the ecosystem is based here.
Thank you.
Well, that's it. It's take all of them. We have the whole night.
So,
Sure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, but one by one.
So you were saying, of course, your companies are all like very young and don't have like the legacy that your competitors have. How do you feel like moving forward and creating your legacy? Can you like take us in the experience of creating your legacy of the company?
Maybe I can answer for a brand. The thing, you know, is consistency throughout your development. Ami, I didn't say, is about 12 years old. He's about to be 13 years old, so he's very young. And I like to compare it to a kid. You know, it's just becoming a teenager. So this is a very structuring moment when you have to take decision to have, and I would say even more today in the actual context, you have to be agile, you have to adapt, but at the same time, you need, you know, to have a vision to make sure that you build something that makes sense and that will create legacy. So just, you know, staying close to your values, being agile to adapt of the economical situation, of the evolution of the online, the wholesale, the retail, etc. But just being consistent, being focused, and that's the work of the designer, which is good because as founders, they really care on a daily basis about this creativity, about this signature move that will I think maybe with the long term become legacy. On the short term, you don't foresee yourself, and think about legacy. You think, as a designer, you think about the next collection, the next show, the link with the past, how much it changed, but still building the same story. So as maybe I could say as parents of a teenager, or like teacher of a teenager, just making sure that all those choices are consistent, or even if we go a little bit too much left or right, just to keep on building a story that is making sense for you and that is, I say, even more consistent with the designer. I think that's part of our role, because sometimes they could be tempted, to look like this or to pretend to be that. I think this is when we can go wrong, but just making sense.
Yeah, and I think it's about time also, patience. Because if you go too fast, you ruin the brand. So I think it's a right balance between getting to the next level, because you need that to be able to hire the great talent to make. I mean, it's a business at the end of the day. So you need to have a profit, and if you don't have a profit, you cannot hire the good people or do the fashion show in Paris, and you're stuck in your garage anywhere. So you need to make money, but you need not to be greedy, because if you make too much money too fast, then it means that your brand is overexposed, and you might ruin it. So it's really a question of managing time also, and development.
My name is Haute. Thank you very much for your presentation. It was very interesting. I had a question regarding fast fashion. So I was wondering, how do you deal with the impact of fast fashion in today's society?
Big question.
It's a good one.
No, it's first, fast fashion, it mixes many different, it's a common, let's say, it's a common word, but we have to see, it mixes different type of business models by itself. So one thing which is, because it is absolutely systematically denounced and accused, and it would be very easy for us to say, oh, fast fashion, to use our aristocratic status in fashion and to say, oh, fast fashion, don't touch. They can be only digital. But the fact is that when the international fast fashion developed in the 80s, 90s, it gave also, if I think of Zara, it was also, then we can talk about copying and everything, or H&M, but it gave also access to fashion for many people who didn't have access to fashion. So that is one thing which is, of course, very important. Then you have different models. It's not the same models and the same identity. If you talk about like H&M or Zara or some French ones or Uniqlo in a way, which is not exactly, but still, and so on. But then the problem is that it has at the same time created a model which, with constant renewal, sort of permanent collection. And that has, of course, very important environmental consequences at the scale of the world. The problem is not said, it's not enough said, but the problem is the problem of volumes. And the number of pieces which are produced in the world each year is something like 120, 130, we made the calculation, billion of pieces. And if you multiply this by 10 kilos equivalent CO2, you can see what it means. It's not 10% of the carbon footprint. It's, let's say, roughly 4%. So that's one point. But to me, the biggest danger at this moment is not the usual brand of fast fashion, although there is a lot of lobbying, many things. But still, if you do look at H&M, they have an important policy. There are many questions about the buying processes, but they have an important policy, sustainability, and so on. We could discuss a long time about that. But what's happening now is that you have new models, which are advanced models, and people like Shein, like Temu, like Boohoo, and not especially the fact that that all this comes from China. It's not the question to say, "Whoa, China, what's happening?" That's not the point. The question is these models, and these models you don't have stocks because it is delivered through after orders, so you don't have inventories with that, and And the fact is that if you take, for instance, in the UK, I think Shane in the UK reached £1 billion. If you take an average price of £5, you can see the volumes it represents and at the scale of the world. And this is something I can tell you in public affairs at the European scale, which is difficult to manage because you cannot like put borders or put tariffs. It is complicated to manage and it's a big challenge, so we worked a lot on that. Fast fashion is denounced and accused again and condemned also in France and I can tell you by the European Parliament, to give an example. But then we have to be concrete in what is in what is done. Do you know how many? I don't want just to focus on Shane, but to give this example, do you know how many references they have per day? Do you know how many? Say a word. Say a figure. How many? Say a number. Tell me. Yeah, you are not far. No, it's like 8. It's even between 6 and 8, and not far from probably 10,000 at the moment. But the very important point is that they are very much advanced in terms of technology and the use of AI. So we cannot say, oh, we should forbid, etc. So that is also something, a lesson. And if you talk to people like Adidas or Puma or H&M, or they say, oh, these people are much advanced. And you probably could take the example also in the UK market, Boohoo and others. So it is a real challenge. But then we could talk about the way to tackle this challenge. And this is, I can tell you, what we work on at this moment with others, the French at the European level, I cannot say at the world level, in terms of environmental policy, to see how this can be controlled, knowing that in marketing, and let's say celebrities marketing, they are extremely efficient. So that's tough, because then you have a huge quantity, and I don't want to focus only on them, but of bad level polyester circulating, and this is sent in particular in Ghana, and you cannot do anything with this garbage because you cannot recycle it. So that's a big thing. But we have, once again, it's not black and white, you see. That's it.
Hello, hi. I know Nicolas talked about being creative as a CEO earlier, briefly. But I just wanted to ask you guys, as a CEO and not a creative director, how much personal influence do you guys have on the creative direction of the brand when it comes to designs?
Very good question, we were saying, so I'm jumping into this one. It's a very subtle, I would say influence, you know, I wouldn't say decision maker. You have to support your creative, and so I can't give you a number, obviously, on that area, you know, this is totally organic, but I think it's that your creative teams feel that you support them and that you align on the direction and the vision you want to give to the brand. So Nicolas said being creative. I don't think Nicolas was referring to the influence that you put to the creatives. I think it's about thinking about new strategies, about how do you adapt to the ever-changing environment. We mentioned AI, we mentioned sustainability. How do you tackle those subjects within your brand? How do they feel relevant for your brand and for the external environment, you know? And I think that's where we have to be creative. How to develop the business means creativity, you know? Which regions, which channels, which content, which storytelling, which influence. So to go back to your question, sorry. I think if you have the trust of your creative and your is the creative or he or she is the creative director, if she sees, I'm talking women right now, that you're supporting her, you have to feel the same direction. You know, I embrace the aesthetic that we do. I really embrace it. And I think that's very important because I embrace it when I give my vision, when I give my feedback. So I don't know, in the process of the show, I would look at the lineup with Victoria, we would comment on the order, is it on brand, you know, that would be the kind of intervention I would make, you know. We're trying to develop further the leather goods business, so I might influence that because I know there's business implications behind, but also, you know, when I feel it's too red carpet or where I feel it's too boring, you know, it's about this balance between business and desirability and making people dream, but making it relatable to their lives so they can convert into the brand ultimately, this is the type of discussions I'm personally going to have with my creative teams, being on brand.
Yes, and to come back to your question, I think it has to be something symmetric. So like the designer can also question yourself about the vision, about the business strategy. So you can explain if he or she doesn't understand or she asks question to make sure that she's, or I would say he for myself, like he's confident about the vision you're presenting, you're developing. And on the opposite, like when you're giving your feedback or your feeling about what is designing, that it welcome it. So you have to create, this space where you can communicate without judging. It's like saying no without saying no either. And for another example is like when you have a partner, a very strong retail partner, and they ask for exclusive pieces for capsule collection. You have first to challenge yourself, does it make sense? Can I ask the studio to work on this if they have the fashion show to prepare something like this? So it's always a question of finding the right moment and the right way of sending your message. But I think Mary's point is very important. You have to embrace the creative vision of the designer, unless he's going wild, and maybe it's your role to say, I'm losing you. I'm trying to understand, but now I'm losing you. Please help me or tell me why or what you mean by this creativity or by this move. But for me, and this is the goal, is finding the balance so that he feels comfortable, to ask you to challenge you, and you feel comfortable. I wouldn't say to challenge a designer, but to give you feedback or to ask question. You wouldn't judge. You can never judge, but just making the communication channel always open.
Yeah, and last thing, I fully agree. I think at the end of the day, it's a teamwork. So if you don't trust your team, then you're in trouble. So if you have the same goal and you work in the same direction, for me, she always has the final cut on creative decision. Like if she wants this woman on the advertising, she chooses, and I can tell her maybe she's not the right person, or when I see that woman, I don't think about you because that makes me think about this and that. So you can have the discussion. At the end of the day, she decides. When it's about hiring a commercial director or opening a store, it's my call, and she can tell me, maybe I don't feel China right now, and I'm like, okay, that's my job. So I get your point. This is the reason why we're doing that. So it's a teamwork. Like any team, you need to trust each other and share the same vision, embrace the vision, and have a very close relationship. You need to talk a lot.
And you also have the help of the team. So you have a collection director, a head of studio, a different creative person that you work with before the collection is launched, to work on the collection structure, etc. So it's not always to be very direct. You have different means to share your messages.
You came with a very challenging situation when you came with Beckham, and you face a lot of change. The launch of Beckham, the post-COVID evolution of trends, the launch of beauty, and your collaboration with the stylist Haute. How did you manage to change? How was your vision at first? How did it move? And do you see any forward to the brand? Can be Middle East, can be China, whatever it is.
Yes, I think challenge is part of the fashion business development, Obviously, it's very visible for Victoria because of her public profile, so it's in the press, and you're in the British brand with the tabloids, so it's even bigger than anywhere. The Brits are very good with that. So everything you do is scrutinized. That's a good training. I think we took risks, and I'm not the only one, during COVID, Victoria Beckham, you had to reinvent yourself. You had to rethink. Obviously, we had a more difficult situation financially at the time, so we had to rethink harder, maybe. And we took risk. We re-strategized all the business. We used to have two brands, which we've amalgamated into one brand. So that was a big move from us, and we reorganized everything internally to follow that new positioning. Obviously, it paid off. Now we're on a healthy growth trajectory. But yes, of course, we have bigger ambitions. I always say we have done chapter 1 of the brand. So we have a good machine, a healthy growth machine. Now it's about leveraging the business and building the higher growth, So it's geographic expansion. So, of course, Middle East is in our era, even though recently the recent events are setting different landscape. We're looking at Asia, but US is a huge territory, and I see huge opportunity for us, specifically with the brand profile. We're talking about brand DNA. Victoria's husband is in the US, as you know, and the family has a huge profile, and with our brand, it's very, very melted. So that's also one of the challenges I deal with Victoria every day, but I think it's also a huge opportunity. So we're looking also West Coast, actually. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Two more. Go ahead.
I had a question on sustainability.
Good. It was on the agenda.
I co-founded Trace Food, which is a traceability and CSR management software for the fashion industry. So I'm used to deal with the people at production, quality, and I know what challenges they're facing. I was wondering, for you as CEOs, what are the main challenges when it comes to sustainability broadly? What are the main things you're afraid or challenged about?
No, I would maybe stay on the same page. Like you have to be consistent. So if you're really involved in this, sometimes I think you have to work hard to see how you can adapt your sourcing, your business, everything. But if you really embrace it, I think talking for us, we start very early on before there is any law or any constraint, because it's in your belief that you want to make something that lasts. And when I say sustainable business, it's a 360 thing. So it's about the product, it's about the sourcing, but it's also about the way you treat your employees, the way you treat your partners, even more during the COVID, how you communicate with your factories. And now, for example, for the traceability, we worked a lot on it. Some of our suppliers were not ready, so we invest in some of them to help them, because if there is any weak link in the whole traceability chain, it will make a mess. So it's a question of vision and how you go step by step, or how you build. And the thing, my belief is sometimes the brand that communicate the most, they're not the one really working on it, because for me it's an infinite subject that you have to work, and we have to learn. We really have to learn. Then you cannot do everything at once. So it's picking your battle, say what makes sense for you. Maybe some of the garment making the biggest part of your business, you need to have all the, the certification, etc. And you need to put challenges. And the last point is, in France, sometimes we're so frightened, say, oh, it's such a big matter that I cannot go into it. It's too big. Just make it happen. Just do small step, and you will see that the rest will follow.
No, I think, and well done. I think it's a great thing to do. Sustainability is obviously something that is very important. Again, as luxury brands, you need to stand for that. I think it's important. I work with Isabel, who is very sensitive to those matters. She has spent her weekends for 20 years in a cabana nearby the river without electricity. So it's just to give you an idea of where she stands. And she doesn't have a car, obviously. But we do fashion. So now that you have this, you need to do it properly. I think one of the key words is longevity. You need to do clothes that last. You need to make sure that every single person who buy your garment, they buy it for a reason. It's not just not to wear them or just to throw it away. You need to do clothes that has a meaning for the people who actually wears it, because otherwise you're just polluting for polluting. So I think that's very important. And we have a chance in luxury to be able to put it in the price, because it costs to do things properly. If you want to buy bio cotton and not just any cotton, if you had the fact that you don't want to buy the cotton to Uyghurs because you can't do that, it adds a lot of constraints on the supply chain. And if you are not a luxury player and you can put it in your price, then you are more in trouble than others. So we have that luxury. We need to embrace that luxury and make sure that we do things properly, because we can afford to. I mean, of course, we've rolled out the traceability things, and we are deploying it. But that's only part of the thing. And what is complicated is that the whole supply chain needs to adapt, and we are not there yet. So even if the brands want to be bulletproof, I order my silk in Italy to the best supplier, but my poor Italian guy in Como is not able to tell me where the ink comes from, and I need to tell the customer where the ink comes from. So it's a whole mess, but everybody's working hard on it, and I'm sure that I think the development that it has taken in 2 years is amazing, and I'm quite confident that in the next 3 years it's going to change again, and in 3 years I will have a different point of view, and I will be super proud of what we've been doing. But I think everybody's on the way, and that's quite exciting, and it's really actually changing. Then I would put just something in your mind's eye, and that links back to fast fashion. I think if you care about sustainability, don't believe that a t-shirt can cost €5. That doesn't exist. If it costs €5, it's not proper cotton, it's made by something that wasn't treated properly, it's packed in a crappy plastic, it's not possible, trust me. So just make sure that you buy the thing that really matters for you, and buy them a good quality. I think that's, all the consumers need to really pay attention to what they're doing, because it's a political act to buy something nowadays. So.
Several points. One point first, we talk here about luxury fashion. So it is not to make, what I'm going to say now, it's not to make advertising and to publicize, or just to be like proud of luxury fashion. But fashion has a sustainable problem globally, in particular environmental problem. Luxury, the difference with fashion is here and now. As we always say, fashion is here and now. Luxury is precisely durability. So when you have the combination of both, through quality in particular, the level of quality, the fitting, the fabrics, the hand of the fabrics, this is the factor of durability. So this is one thing. But at the same time, fashion and luxury fashion at the same time is very much observed, and we have all the consciousness to go forward and to progress and so on. So the first one is that. Second thing, if we take the subject under the angle of durability, to me, I call that the 4S. You have the substance, the nature of the fabrics in particular. You have the solidity or sturdiness, both S. And this is also one thing. But you can have also something which is very delicate and not solidity, but solidity is a factor. You have a sensation linked to the quality and to the hand and to the fitting and the signature. And what's happening is that if we look at luxury fashion, we can see even that the price, even for the second-hand market, the prices don't decline so much because you have the signature and you have the quality. Point 3 and 4 of my 4S. But now the difficulty on that is that we live in an era where everything has to be measured and counted. And if you don't measure, people tell you, okay, how can you prove it? How can you prove that you made progress? And then at that time, it becomes complicated. One thing is traceability. So for that, there are like tools and startups and big IT players and so on. But if you want to be like somehow performance, even in social performance or environmental performance, it becomes complicated because this depends on the database, environmental databases that you use. And that, management students, you can understand. You can understand the difficulty it does represent. So you can do that by yourself. But then, if you want to be exemplary, you also have public policies interfering. And the public policies want to measure things and to count everything. The problem is, for instance, in the measurement of durability, the only thing which is really measured is solidity. So delicacy is not taken into account because it's very difficult to measure the notion of quality. Through AI, in 10 years, we will measure it maybe for quality, but not for the moment. So this is very important. And the last point, which is more than a conviction, which is for me something obvious, is that the real stuff with durability, you can talk about durability with artisans and great, and the new projects like made in Europe or made like in China for Chinese designers or made et cetera, that type of thing. or like in Maghreb countries and Latin America, you have many ecological products, many with great entrepreneurs, not in luxury fashion, doing very ecological stuff. But it has to be measured in a nice way. At this moment, if we take the labeling and the public policy rules, a Primark dress have a good chance to get a better grade than the Isabel, Marant, and Ami and Victoria Beckham. I mean, Primark, they do a great job. That's not the point. But there is something which is not fully logical, for the reason I tell you. The last thing that I was saying, it's very much, to me, a question of IT. Absolutely a question of IT. Because after a moment, when you start to reach several, let's say, dozens of millions, then you need to have information systems. And with the information systems, you need to manage a supply chain. So, and then you have to cross the information that you have on supply chain with the life cycle analysis that you make for sustainability and with traceability. So, to me, the Sustainable Development Challenge accelerates the digitalization and the link between the different tools, and in particular the supply chain tools. I repeated supply chain 3 times because Valérie is a great specialist of supply chain and sustainability. So I know I hope she will appreciate what I just said. But I think it is absolutely true. And by the way, if you're interested, I just published an op-ed in Le Monde this weekend, and I can give you, I can give you a translation, an English translation of this op-ed.
One last question, maybe?
Yeah. How do you balance your private and professional life? That can be very intense today. And what sacrifices you make? And also, if you have any advice to share with us today.
Maybe I can. Maybe you have a man point of view and a woman point of view. No, I didn't do it properly in the past, so I can tell you maybe the change I've tried to bring to my organization. But I think if you respect yourself, you have to find a good balance. I think no matter I'm a father as well. I have 2 kids, 2 teenagers. The thing is, you don't have to be there all day long and to work until like 11 p.m. I think, and I've always been impressed by women, being able to work and to do all the things they have to do because it was not balanced between men and women. But now I think you have to be efficient and also sometimes saying, no, at that time I will have to leave. I give you a quick example. I play soccer every Thursday night. I know no more meeting after 7 p.m., no matter what happened, no dinner, no event, because I've been playing this with friends from ESCP and other schools since I was graduated in 2001. And every Thursday since then, I'm playing soccer. So it's a question of balance, choosing your battles. On some of my previous experience, I was saying, oh no, I cannot afford. They will think this, they will say that. Now I don't care. I say, it's me. Maybe I will be more motivated on Thursday for work. So if you balance, the other one has to accept you the way you are. So you don't have to make choices, or I should pretend to do this, or to be like that, or to come very early. You just have to deliver the work. Maybe sometime give example. Give example is not being there at 8 and leaving 11 p.m. every night. If you leave, I don't know, like at 6:30 or 7, but you're very balanced, you're happy, you work hard, you will spread this as a manager, as a CEO to the rest of your team. So the balance, I think today people are more open. It's not just a question of timing, of being there the first and leaving the last. I don't think that's the key at all. For sure, to remain aware, to work in a proper way, you have to be balanced. You need to do sports. You need also to cultivate your creativity, to meet with people you don't know, to go and see exposition, concert, whatever you like, to be balanced. People, I think, and I've met quite a lot, people that after 40 years old, they say they are so exceptional work success. And when you talk to them, they tell you, oh, I totally missed my life. I miss my kids. I miss my wife because I was too much into work. I was a workaholic. I am successful, but I missed the biggest part of my life. So don't wait until you're 30, 40, or 60 to say, okay, I missed something. It's a question of saying what is important for me. And always a good question is, I might have 1, 2, 3 other jobs in my life. I don't plan to have 2, 3 other wife or kids in my life,
What Nicolas don't tell you is that he has also some activities, in particular a music label. So it's not fully limited to what he said.
Yes, and I think this will make you aware. This make you like open-minded to meet like students, to meet entrepreneurs. It will keep you younger. So question of balance.
Yes, well. No, first of all, it's feasible. You mentioned the word sacrifice. I wouldn't use sacrifice. I think when you make a choice, you need to make it wisely. So I work 60 hours a week. I don't work 40 hours a week, let's be honest. I play soccer from time to time. I see friends. I rarely do things during the week before 8 p.m. Usually I'm in the office, which doesn't mean that I'm suffering, but you need to, I mean, I'm not the best mom at school. I think I'm the best mom at home. So if I compare with the other mother, they would think that I'm never there. When I talk to my kids, they sound very, I think they're in good shape. And my eldest one is 16, so I think I didn't screw up totally. You need to have a good partner in life or a good setup. And that's crucial because I admire so much single parents that to me is very, very difficult. So you need to have either, the partner that shares life hopefully will help you. And to me, that was critical. I think I owe my success to my husband, partly, and vice versa, I think. But so I agree with Nico. I don't think it's a question of hours, it's a question of commitment. So when it's important, you need to be here. It can be important for yourself, it can be important for your teams. So sometimes I stay late just because they stay late, and I think it's important for them to feel that they are not alone. The day before a show, no one sleeps. So now I go to sleep, but I've spent a lot of long nights. Now, after 11 p.m., I'm like, okay, I'm too old. But I think it's important also to show support to your team. And sometimes you spend hours just for that, but that's very precious. So again, I think you can have, I have a perfect life. I do a lot of things that I love. I travel a lot. I do sports, but it's a lot of work. So I wouldn't say it's a 40 hours job at all. But it's feasible and it's totally okay.
I would say it's not easy, though. I think it's a goal. It's a constant discipline, I would say. But if you don't have the balance, I don't think you can operate well in this position. Everybody looks at you every morning, so you need to really be grounded. You need to put yourself together. And you're going to get a lot of challenge during the day, so you need to start your day well and fit. So you need to be aware of what you need for that and make the space for that. So yes, there will be long hours of work. I agree, there's moments I sometimes finish earlier, and I think COVID has helped in terms of giving flexibility, and it's not about the hours that you stay, it's about, like you said, the commitment and the fact that maybe you're going to rework at non-hours work time where you will have a fresh mind. It's being self-aware for me and disciplined about what you need. So everybody has their things. Nico does soccer, I do yoga, that's another thing. I do that in the morning, that calms my mind, and I draw. That's my therapy, and just to digest everything and come fresh at work. It's also a place where everyone can escape in his way, and we all human and need that. But the discipline is to have this balance and then be present at work and be present for your kids. So you can be present in different manner. I'm not also doing many school support. At home, yes, but with the school, it's much challenging. But the kids, I feel I'm there for them when they want to speak. So that's what I would say.
Okay. Well, first, I never understood the concept of work compared to not working. I don't understand, because when I take some day off, I have more time to work. So I don't understand. At the same time, I can say I've had a full life. Hopefully, I will continue having a full life. I have my two daughters who are very close to me, and conversely. But let's take things differently. In a week, you have 168 hours, right? if you want to have a full life. If you sleep something like 40 hours, or even 50, let's say 40, 45, I don't know, it depends if you have of your needs, sleeping needs, it remains 128 hours, or maybe sometimes 118, depends. So you can do many things in 120 hours, many things in many aspects of your life. If logistics doesn't take so much time, then entertainment, and then your family life you do. I thought, listening to you, I thought we should make some kind of a diagram, the time spent and the intensity of the time. Because for sure, there must be quite a number of children who would appreciate spending less time with their parents. So you can have these both dimensions. So in my case, so I always was like that, and it's a big chance, I would say. And also I'm making music, I'm a musician, and I try to I write a certain number of things. So we have but people can do that, can love to be in their gardens. I mean, believe that and just go forward. If I have an advice, is just go forward. Don't be frustrated with what you do, but be measured. You can be passionate, but at the same time, sort of control what you're doing. You are extremely lucky. You are living a difficult time globally, but which is also a wonderful time for people like you who have a high level of education. So take that, and if you want to sing, sing. If you want to jump, jump. If you want to, I don't know, to scream, to do whatever you want to do it. Because the worst thing is to be frustrated in a job or to be frustrated in other things. And then, of course, personal life is crucial. But all this is a global balance. We sort of have to be wise, and at the same time to have the chance to be in the position to live our life in a pleasant way.
To be wise and sometimes to be crazy, because if it's your way, to have fun and to rest.
Don't be too wise.
Exactly. And the only judge is yourself. As long as you're okay, like Anouk said, sometime when you launch a brand, when you do something new, you have to work like a year without taking a day off. But if you choose it, it's okay. Don't make it your life for 10 years because you will pay the price or your family will pay the price. But if you're involved, if you're committed to do something crazy, make it happen, do what you have to do. You're the only judge. You can take any advice from any of us. There is no one rule.
And don't be affected by failures and problems. Go always forward. Take the experience and go, not only in terms of entrepreneurship, but go forward. Absorb that to be even stronger. Not to be affected by sort of bad vibes. Bad vibes, there are many bad vibes around. So we always have to overcome bad vibes.
Especially in fashion.
Well,
maybe it's time to close. Before that, I'd like to congratulate the students specifically because, we can be proud of them. Thank you for the wonderful questions. And actually, Perrine and I, you did our job. So thank you very much.
Aren't you frustrated? Because you had sort of quite a number of questions.
That's okay. We are flexible.
We are
very agile. And second, of course, I'd like to make another big round of applause for our 4 great speakers. And before switching to a more informal cocktail type of event, maybe André, you want to say a few words or?
Yes, go ahead.
No,
André.
I just want to say, honestly, thank you so much. It's been amazing. We weren't expecting at the beginning this type of forum, right? So I know we had the discussion before. And you were creative and we were flexible because we took it. I directly talked to Miss Moiti and Miss Demichel, and they did an amazing job in handling the subjects and everything. But at the end, it was something even more unexpected because it was the questions from the students. But thank you so much. For us, it's been a delight, honestly. We've been here commenting, and it's been really fun for us. It's been amazing. It's more informal, but at the end of the day, what really matters is the substance. And that's what ESCP Talks is all about. It's about something personal, and that's exactly what we achieved. So no matter how it is, how we do it, it was perfect.
For us, it was cool. So we had a good time. I think cool. You can say. And thank you so much, André. And thank you to you all, and thank you to the team and your team.
And guys, you have to know that his team is amazing. He sent us like all the agenda, all the thing, then we have to change at the last moment, like 2 days before, and say, okay, I'm going to talk with the moderator, and he accepts everything. So it's a question of common, balance and flexibility. So thank you as well.
I'm sorry for the sustainability. It had an A. I did this today, so I was a bit much. But thank you so much. And I would now invite everyone to go to the more informal part. We have an amazing cocktail for all of you waiting outside, so go ahead, have fun. Thank you. C'était super.